Hello everyone, this is Lessons with A, and welcome to today's grammar lesson, which is all about verb tenses. This will be divided into three parts, so we learn more simply and comprehensively. Let's start with this first part then. Before we begin, you should know that verb tenses are used to show when an action or when something happened. In this lesson, we'll be looking at the simple present, simple future, and the simple past tense. Beginning with the simple present tense, we use the simple present tense when an action is happening right now or when it happens regularly. Examples are, this feels good. Bertha likes dancing. In these examples, we are describing what we felt at that time. That is, this feels good. We felt good. And then we describing what someone always does regularly. That is, Bertha likes dancing. More examples would be, I read a book every night before I sleep. My mother cooks every day. These are also describing to us what my mother does every day and what I do every night before I sleep. Now there we have it. Let's see how to make the simple present tense of verbs. In the simple present tense, most regular verbs use the root form, except in the third person singular, where we add an s to the root form of the verb. Now let's use an example to explain this more. So our first person singular, which is I, will take the form of the verb we are using now, that is work. We are using the verb work. So in the first person singular, that is I, we have I work. The second person singular, which is you, we have you work. Now, remember, this is a third person singular, that is he or she or it, and it's going to take works. Remember that in the simple present tense, the verb form stays the same, but when it gets to the third person singular, we add an s. Don't forget this rule. Moving on, we have the first person plural, that is we, and we get we work. The second person plural, you, becomes you work. And finally, the third person plural become they work. For some verbs that end in o, ch, sh, th, ss, gh, or z, the third person singular ends with es instead of s. Examples of such verbs are go, coach, buzz, etc. Now let's use the verb go to explain this. So in the first person singular, that is I, we have I go. In the second person singular, you, we get you go. The third person singular, that is he or she or it, we get goes. Remember, in the third person singular, we add an es to the root form of the verb. So it becomes he or she or it goes. The first person plural, we get we go. The second person plural, we get you go. And then finally, the third person plural, we get they go. Now let's see how we can make the simple present tenses for the verbs to be and to have. Remember, these verbs have different conjugations from their root forms. So to be, we get I am, you are, he or she or it is. For the plurals, we get we are, you are, and they are. Moving on to the verb to have, we get I have, you have, he or she or it has. We have, you have, they have. You see how they keep the same forms but changes in the third person singular. That is it. Good. Now let's move on to the simple past tense. The simple past tense is a verb tense that is used to talk about things that has happened or were there before now. Examples of verbs that are used in the past tense are he sang the opening song. She cried when she saw him. In these examples, we are told what happened before now. So we are told that the opening song, he sang it happened before now. And then we are told what happened when she saw him before now, that is, she cried. Now, let's see how we can make the past tense of verbs. For regular verbs, add ed to the root form, or just add d if the root form of the verb ends in an e. So examples are play, we get played. Now we have type, which ends with e, so we just have to add d to it to get tied. We have listen, that has no ending of e, so we just add ed to it, then we get listened. Push, pushed. Love, loved. For some irregular verbs, the simple past tense of them looks exactly like their root form. So examples will be put. Here, put still is put in the past. Cut is still cut in the past. Set still set. Cost, cost. Hit, hit. Their past tense and the root forms are the same. Then for some irregular verbs, including to be, the simple past is formed by changing it into a completely new word. So see becomes saw, which is a new word different from the root form of the verb, that is see. Build becomes built. Go becomes went. Do, did. Rise, rose. Or s or r becomes was and were. Now remember that no matter who we are referring to or their number, the past tense of the verbs stay the same. Let's use the verb walk to explain more. So, the past tense of the verb walk would be I walked, you walked, he or she or it walked, we walked, you walked, they walked. You see, and there's that the past tense of the verb we use, which is walk, stayed the same without the subject having any effect on it. No matter how plenty or how small they were, the past tense stayed the same. Let's move on to the last part of this lesson, which is the simple future tense. The simple future tense is a verb tense that is used to talk about things that haven't happened yet. We use the simple future to talk about something that will begin and end in the future. Let's see examples. This year, Jen will read War and Peace. In this example, we are told something that hasn't happened yet, and it is expressing to us what Jen will do in the future, which is to read. The next example is, it will be hard, but she is determined to do it. Here, we are told what she is determined to do, even though it hasn't happened yet. Now let's see how we can make the simple future tense of verbs. We make the simple future tense of verbs by adding will to the root form of the verb. So examples are sleep, the future tense of it will be will sleep. Build, will build. Rise, will rise. Do, will do. See, will see. Now, you can also make the simple future tense of verbs by using or, s, or are, depending on the number of people you're referring to, that is the subject, the quantity of the subject, and then adding going to, and then add it finally to the root form of the verb. Let's see an example. So, I am going to school. Here, the subject is singular, that is I, the first person singular. The verb used here is sleep. So we formed the future of it by using plus going to and then adding it to the root form of the verb sleep. Then we got I'm going to sleep. In the sentence, I am going to sleep. We go on to John is going to kick the ball. Here, kick is the verb that we need to make the future of. So we get is going to kick. Now, my uncles are going to read a book. Read is our verb in the sentence, and to form the future of it, we used are plus going to, and then we added the two of them to read to get are going to read. And in the sentence, my uncles are going to read a book. Remember, is, and are should be used with the right subject. For singular subject, use a singular one. For plural subject, use the plural form of it. And then remember, as it is with a simple past tense, it does not matter if the subject is singular or plural. The formula for the simple future does not change. It's the same throughout. There we have it.